Good morning, William Gladstone for PlanetChange.tv. I'm so delighted today to have Jack Canfield. We're actually at Jack's home. Jack is well known for his Chicken Soup for the Soul book series, but his most recent book is The Success Principles, How to Get from Where You Are to Where You Want to Be. And I think that's particularly apropos for the 2012 Chronicles. As you know, as author of the 12, I've got a great interest in 2012 myself, and I've been going around interviewing some of the top minds in the world on what 2012 means to them. So my question for you, Jack, which is the same question I've asked everyone, is what does 2012 mean to you personally, professionally, and globally?
Well, I think globally, I'll start and go backwards. Think global, act local,
right,
kind of thing. But I think what happened for me when I first discovered the whole phenomenon, I think it was when I was reading Peter Tompkins' book about the pyramid and the idea that this hallway from the King's Chamber that led out, it was literally, if you took, I think it was 1 centimeter per year or something like that, from the time they built the pyramid until now, it ended around 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my first exposure to the fact that maybe there was some major thing going on. And then studying yoga and hearing about the Kali Yuga and then the Mayan calendar coming forward, and there were a number of prophecies all around the world. And I remember when I got involved with the Pachamama Alliance and went down into Ecuador, they talked about these Pachacutis, which were these 500-year cycles that end right about now,
right?
And the idea of the eagle and the condor,
right?
And I love the idea they said in the rainforest that the eagle represented the mind and the condor the body and the heart, and that when they flew together in time, this would be this coming together. And they said that the mind will be so developed by the people of the North, they'll even have machines that think for them. And now we have computers.
Yes.
I mean, and this was like,
hundreds
and hundreds of years ago, if not thousands,
Yeah.
So obviously something's afoot. And I think what's happening is that as I've been talking to scientists and people that are mystics and really tapped in, is we are literally moving through the universe, our galaxy, and we're entering a new energy belt. We're already seeing it. It started in the 60s,
right,
with the Back to the Earth movement and the hippies and the psychedelics, where people were expanding their consciousness and connecting to nature. And what happens is that as we're moving toward or into this new belt, more and more of the qualities of this energetic, this field we're in, are coming forward. Things like love and joy and harmony and cooperation, the divine feminine coming forward and so forth. So I think that's just what is.
Yes.
And some people talk about a cataclysmic event. Some people talk about a second coming of the Christ consciousness. And I was just reading something recently, I don't remember what it was, but talking about it isn't going to be a cataclysmic event or necessarily like boom on a single moment, but we're already in 2012, and it's kind of the culmination of this transition, the tipping point where we go, and we've all had this experience in our own individual lives, where we were 51% negative or 51% asleep and 49%. And then you make that 2% shift, and now you're 51% alive or awake or conscious or, positive, and 49, and all of a sudden everything's totally different.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're moving toward. Now, there could be a cataclysmic Earth thing. There could be a global warming thing. There could be some people are talking about earthquakes and volcanoes and all that. And even if that happened, it might be much like 9/11 was for us, where the whole country for weeks was acting as one unit.
Right.
We were attacked from the outside, and all of a sudden, instead of like being at each other's throats, we looked at this what we considered to be the external enemy, which we could talk about that as well. But the idea being, we came together in a unified consciousness, and everybody was talking to each other more, was slowed down, was talking about what's the meaning of life, what really matters. And I think that if there were a cataclysmic shift, it would just focus the entire Earth in much the way that those attacks did. And that could be a good thing. Many of the people that I study with believe, and I think I do too, that what's happening is we have a choice in consciousness. That literally, if we can get our minds into a state of alignment with the essence of who we are and cooperating with each other in love and joy and harmony and mutual abundance and win-win and all that we can actually avert some of these earth disasters, because a lot of people believe, and I think I'm now one of those after studying Masaru Emoto's work with the water and feel, so much of the earth is water, that consciousness shifts the molecular structure of everything so that we can actually affect the weather patterns. We can actually affect what happens on the earth through our consciousness. So I'll end with one last thing on this in terms of the global part. I was reading a book that a woman gave me. She's a very short little lady who runs the Iditarod every year. That is
that's a tough race.
Tough race up in Alaska with the dog sledge. And she said, it's very funny. She said the dogs, you always know what you're thinking based on the behavior of the dogs. Because if you go into, let's say, a slush area where you think your sled might, sink, or you go into a blizzarding winds with the snow all around, if you think, oh my God, we might not make it, the dogs will start stopping. If you're thinking, we're going to get through this, the dogs just keep going. And so she was saying, that her external environment, called the dog, are a reflection of her internal consciousness. And I think that's true for everything. And so, our outside is a projection of our inside. On a professional level, I think what we're doing with 2012 is that this year I've started to train trainers for the first time ever in this work I do, which is both in terms of abundance, consciousness, joy, love, manifestation of your highest vision. And my life purpose is to inspire and empower people to live their highest vision in the context of love and joy. And I think when I started that, I was thinking of individuals and maybe organizations. And now what I'm seeing is the whole earth, all of humanity is coming together and really formulating a new vision for all of humanity. And that our work now is beyond the individuals and the corporations and the schools, but really saying, what is the highest vision for humanity? And if I can be part, and I think I am, of inspiring and empowering people to live that highest vision in a context of love and joy, then it takes my work to a whole new level. And so as I'm training people now from 14 countries, 84 trainers, and we're planning to do that for the next 5 years, so to get about 500 trainers all around the world, training people in this new way of helping people expand their consciousness and then manifest the vision of, the world working for everybody. So that's what we're doing on a professional level. And also what's happening professionally is, I think what's happening in the world is we're creating a planetary community. And because of the internet, and because of travel, and because of all that's going on right now, we're creating this international community. But what we're doing professionally is we're creating an online community, and we're creating a virtual community. I've kind of nicknamed it The Gathering. And literally twice a year, we're going to bring people together, and I eventually see thousands of people like in a big arena. And we'll have music and comedy and consciousness groups and breakout sessions and people hugging everybody and chanting and singing and doing all the things that we do when we get together. But as creating that level of community just around my work, and then helping people take that out to their local communities in this kind of expanding waves. Personally, I'm meditating more, trying to tap into what my inner guidance is. I mean, my path the last few years has mainly been to get out of my head and more into my heart and my essence. And my head's been good. I've read all the right stuff, and I've always been someone that came from love and joy, but I'm realizing there's a much deeper level of that I'm surrendering into, and just allowing myself to be guided. I think Reverend Michael Beckwith said in one of his talks that I listened to, that there's 4 stages of evolution. And the first stage is where you think it is doing it to you. You're the victim.
Right.
And the second stage is where you realize you can manifest and manipulate it. That's where we get into the secret and law of attraction and manifestation. And the third stage is you surrender to it being God, the universe. And the fourth stage is you realize you are it.
Right.
And so I think I'm leaving 1 and 2 and hovering a lot more in 3 and in 4. And I think that's those of us that are in leadership positions, that's really what we're all having to do.
Well, I have to tell you, I really have lots of responses to all 3. I think it's great. You're so aligned with so many of the other leaders that I've been interviewing in terms of your vision of the global. And your professional work actually ties in very closely to some big projects that I haven't told you about. Just for viewers, Jack and I are friends. We haven't seen each other for quite a few years. Last time I had dinner with Jack, he had this wonderful metaphor he talked about, and I think that it's actually more true than metaphorical. Jack had this concept that, well, I'll let Jack tell it, about the golden motorcycle gang.
Yeah, it was funny. When I was about 26 years old, I was teaching high school, I think, and it was just I was starting to train teachers. I just finished teaching. I was becoming a teacher trainer, and we were taking a psychosynthesis for educators workshop based on the work of Roberto Assagioli from Italy, who was a kind of